Well,
You gotta watch that.
I guess we're starting to, might have a couple people on Zoom and stuff like that, but, the whole idea is not just to be Remax, you know, as far as, sharing, people's ideas that are successful in the business, that have been in the business a long time. I moved here 30 years ago, and his signs were everywhere in town. We're a company called Certified Marketing.
Yes,
That.
that's true.
Remax or
Yeah.
Old banker or anything. Anyway, anyway, so Ted's been doing it for a while, but, you know, just, I mean, I picked up some things from, Chase on the, just listed, just sold that we did, a couple weeks ago, and then, last week was, Donna's turn with, internet, leads, and I wasn't, here for that, but, here went well, Donna. She's on her phone. Anyway, so now this week we have, just, you know, I think just getting back to realizing whether you are a new agent or you're very experienced, but you need to get back to basics. Some of these things are very like, wow, why am I doing that? You know, and certain agents have certain skill sets that fit, whether it's calling for sale by owners or cold calling, just sold homes that come in the neighborhood, or if it's working with internet leads, you know, there's different skill sets for different people that fit better than others. So anyway, as far as Ted goes, he's a long time veteran. Graduated from the Utah State University, from what I understand, in 1982.
No, they're not the Utes.
No.
Wow. You're
Yeah.
messing me up. That's the Aggies.
You
Forget it.
Ted's first job was with, in Los Angeles, as a purchasing manager, and then moved to St. George in 1986. So he beat me by 6 years.
That's quite good.
Yeah. Way. Anyway, so he started his career right here with, Pioneer West, which, I think is still around, aren't they? Are they out of this?
Property management. That's
Oh.
with Chuck.
Yeah, that's Booker.
Yeah.
And then later certified marketing, and then now 20 years with Remax. And so we were chatting about the old times when Remax started out, when Steve Bradbury had it, and then invited top producers in town, and I happened to be involved a little bit in that portion. Nowhere near anymore, but anyway, sold everything to everybody that bought in, like 18 agents. So anyway, kind of going back a little bit, how the Remax first started before we did Remax Associates. But anyway, Ted's going to share with us his skills with for 12 hours. So,
It's come a long ways. Real estate, 1986, there were no cell phones. None. No pagers. First pager, they were numeric pagers, they just put the phone number, they would put that in, and then you had to call back, and then it graduated to alphanumeric, where they could actually type in a message on your pager. Now, we thought that was the coolest thing ever. And we didn't have to scramble so quickly to a landline phone. You'd be scrambling at somebody's house, you had to use their phone, or there was a business nearby, I don't know if you remember, a business nearby, you walk in, can I use your phone?
when I got here, they just came out with cell phones, and I had one, and I couldn't afford the airtime. And
Yeah,
so
you only got so many minutes.
I finally got rid of it and went to a pager.
Yeah, and then from 35 millimeter pictures, you had to go out, you took pictures with a 35 millimeter camera. And then you would have the film developed, how many pictures you want of that house, well, we'd like 10, all right, 10, whatever, how many we want. And we go back and type up the flyer and paste on your picture, a little colored picture. So maybe a point of interest more than anything of how far we've come. And the technology.
Did they have cars back then?
How about the real estate books? Because we didn't have internet or anything. And by the time you called on a listing, it might have been sold because they only came out once a month.
Real estate books, there was no computers, so they print out monthly real estate book with all the current listings and then the pending. So you flip through the pages and see which one you wanted to go see. Hey, Byron, what do you think of this on this page? Crazy.
Wow.
it is a while, and so today we're grateful for the technology. And I think the advantage to those that can understand it and use it, for sure. I'm slow, I am slow, I will admit it, thank goodness for others, Melinda, say, oh, you can get on board here. So. And there was only about 130 agents when I came here in 1986. And I think there's approximately 2,000 agents or so today. And so, of course, it's grown, lots more inventory, lots more competition. And so you really have to sharpen your skills, as they say, all the time. And because you have to adjust with the times, you just do. The times change, technology changes, you have to stay with it. And I don't know if I really totally have or haven't. But I will say that some of the things that came natural to me when I first moved here in '86 was knocking on doors, and to this day I still do some of it. And one of those weirdos that enjoy it. I love the interaction with people, and I can get contacts from it.
By the way, my wife tried to catch you as you left my door a couple weeks ago.
Really? It's because I'm running to the next one.
I mean, bridal gate of 6.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was just a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife said she was, Ted was just here.
Anybody else?
Still works. I see you knocking doors.
Yeah.
You haven't knocked
Well-
my door, but I've seen you.
Well, and I'm a jogger, so I will run. I'm at first I was a little embarrassed by it. There's somebody watching me running from door to door. I think, what's this guy doing? But I'm a jogger, so I do. So I still a little conscientious about it, but I will run. I will run when I'm knocking on doors. I get more doors in an hour, right?
Yeah.
I'm a jogger anyway. What have I got to lose? So all of that comes into play. So there's about 7 items about looking at for sale by owners, and some of you guys already know. I've already been doing it, and you know the pluses, and add your own experience as we go through it. But I will say that because of the competition, you got to dress the part. Everybody that's coming in to present their presentation for sale by owners are usually dressed very professionally and pretty sharp. And that's where you begin, because that's first impressions. It's powerful. It's powerful. When they first meet you, they'll have an immediate judgment about you. And so you've got to come, well, whatever your professional attire is, you decide what that is. It fits your personality. For me, it's been white shirt and tie for 30+ years. I came from a job in LA. And so I kept doing that, and it's been okay. So you find out what works for you. Presentation. Today's, and I don't mind saying, and John, so you guys will already know, that everybody's doing presentation booklets or binders. I'm saying these are serious presentations, and they're impressive. John does one, others do, and they come in and you're wowed by them. And in those presentations, you got to prepare to have something in there. It could be a binder, it could be a folder or something. You put in something about yourself, something about your company, statistics. People like to kind of see what's the market doing, and that's available. Something about your sales, your production. And if you're fairly new, then you can use somebody else. You can say, well, this is what our office does, and this is what our team does. You can bring that in. There's always an advantage. And or there's always it can be advantage. So if you're new to the business, you always say, you know what, I'm new, but man, I'm hungry. Then I'll get your home sold, whatever it needs to be. And then you'll find a way to make yourself stand out. You got to find a way that you stand out above the others. And what's that going to be? And so you have to, within yourself, decide what your advantages are for you personally. The presentation binder then will cover all these different things you want to put in it. I see some with tabs, and the tabs are custom made. You know, here's statistics, here's the CMA, here's my bio, here's my. So, you know, you'll have to decide for yourself, but you got to go prepared. I'm just saying, if you're going to have a crack at these for sale by owners. For sale by owners, most of them will be converted to a realtor. Most of them do. Not all, some are able to sell, but most will. And they'll go to somebody they know, family, or somebody who's approached them. They're going to go. They are going to list most of. Won't you say? I would say most of the sell by owners do end up getting help.
Over 90% of list within 10 days. And as you know, they'll always say, I'm never gonna list. I'm never gonna
Oh.
list.
Yeah, here's what, totally. They'll say that, or they'll say, you know, we're going to give it a month or two.
Yeah.
And just kind of try it on their own, and then 10 days later, you see somebody sign up.
Yeah.
It doesn't last long. these for sale by owners, they start to realize that it's harder than you think. And if they're not getting anybody coming and things are going, they get anxious, say, okay, maybe it's time to get a realtor. And they'll go to the ones that have been in front of them. Friend, family, or somebody who's done a presentation. And so that can happen pretty quickly. And the commissions, you'd have to be, we can't talk about commissions here, other than you gotta be ready to compete. Because there are some very aggressive commissions being offered. And you'll have to decide for yourself where you stand with that. You'll find out pretty quickly who's offering what, if you really get into the mix of it. You'll see who's offering what, you get to the point where you say, okay, I gotta be ready to do this if I'm gonna have a chance. And you say, you know what, I'm not sure I want to compete with that, so maybe you decide the for sale by owner game.
Ted, how many times you lost to a listing where they listed for $10 or $5?
There's so much.
There's
They'll say, there's so much out there, and there's flat fees, a discount agent, what they are. And so you gotta come prepared to say, where's your value? So somebody can say, I'm gonna put it on multiple listing forum, a company was put them on for $200 or $300, and you're coming in with a big commission. Why would they go with you when they can put it on MLS? With somebody who's gonna only charge them $200 or $300? Why? You've got to come up with an answer, because they're gonna ask you. And so the things that you can, the things that you offer is that you're full-time there for them. With a real personalized service to make sure things are done right. You get what you pay for most of it, you get what you pay for. So if you get somebody who's gonna really service them, be there for them, offer more benefits than the flat fees will do. You offer that exposure you're going to give, and by your team or by your office, and you gotta put up a pretty good fight as to where your value is. Since I'm talking about value, I don't have too much here, but the value of a realtor, we all have to come to a conclusion, but why we're charging 30, 40, 50 grand for commissions. It's a lot of money. When I started, we bought our first home here for 60,000. You can imagine what commissions were. And then as it rose, and today the average price of home being over 5-ish, you put a commission on that, it's a lot of money. So how do you agents dare charge what you charge for that much money? Why?
I can tell you, Ted, I have a good example.
Let's hear it.
I actually showed a home that was listed by what's that brokerage? that does that? No, like a $300 flat fee brokerage. Can't remember it. Anyways, Mountain, anyway.
That's the point, so you don't remember,
Yeah.
people don't either.
You don't wanna remember.
So I told them that they needed to have a special person to represent their home because their home is special and special to them. Said if you are the one handling your conversations with realtors, they'll pick you apart. They'll ask you questions and you're gonna give your cards away and it's gonna cost you money in the end. And they believe me and it's true. I have phone calls with realtors and basically, they're digging how long, how motivated. There's a lot of questions we ask to try to get into like how is this offer gonna come across? Because we also want to have a good, you don't want to piss them off. You want to find something that works for everybody. There's questions that you can ask. Anyways, I told him, I said, when you called me to have a conversation with me, you handed out your cards to me. Like it was like taking candy from a baby. I could tell you were desperate. I said, now you're calling me for feedback. That's my feedback for you. And then he called me the next day and said he wanted to list his house with me. I couldn't ask him for his business because he was still listed.
Yeah.
But it worked, and that was basically.
You're gonna get more personalized attention and usually get a little bit more exposure in the marketing. And that in a few minutes, you can run over and help with something if you need. I mean, there's some personalized service that you can give that these other services can. And the other thing I've seen them come and go. I remember when, and Neil, you probably can too, like Help Yourselves many years ago, Assist Sales, they don't last that long. Because you can't maintain quality salespeople with that. You can't make a living with some of those fees. And so all you're gonna get are part-timers, they're taking orders from their kitchen, they're in bed taking order, whatever. They're not somebody out rubbing shoulders with the marketplace.
A lot of times they're saying, well, call the owner direct. So they're negotiating with the owner because the discount brokerage doesn't wanna deal with it.
No, they don't.
They're not making enough money to deal with.
They don't. No, so you're missing that element. So here's the values I think of a realtor. Number one is the exposure. The greater the exposure, the greater the chance of getting a little higher price than you would have otherwise. It's statistically proven. You get more exposure and you're gonna give it 10 times more than the homeowner will. And then you're gonna sell it for a little bit more and you're gonna sell it usually in a little less time. And that in and of itself, so if you're able to sell it for a little bit more, which I think you do, I look at the homes for sale by owner sale compared to homes I have listed to sell. There's always several percentages higher. And so to a degree, we're able to absorb some of that fee in the price by selling it for a little bit more. And so some of those commissions truly are being absorbed in a little better price. And now they got somebody who's in charge, making sure things are right. So that's one. Third party negotiating is huge. You know, taking the emotion out. So now you got somebody who's professional, out of the loop. They've been through these negotiations hundreds of times or many times. And, you know, most businesses that have a lot of money on the line will have third party negotiators, like professional athletes, you name them, third party negotiator. That is a big deal because you take the emotion out. Now you look at it from a realistic point of view of what's going to work. And then you can give that client of yours the options. Based on my experience, you can do this, this, and this. Based on my experience, this will be the result, could be the result of a couple of these options. Which options would you like? And that's what we can give that you can't get anywhere else. And so third party negotiate, and the third one is liability. Now these real estate contracts are serious business. If you don't cross the T's and dot the I's, I've seen lawsuits. Fortunately, I haven't been in one. I got called once into a deposition about 25 years ago. And they released me after the seller had their deposition and I was going up next to give a deposition. And goes into a bigger story, but the buyer really liked me. He said, Ted had nothing to do with it, get him out of here. And that was great, but you sweat bullets at night, wondering what's gonna happen. How much of my neck is on the line? And when hundreds of thousands of dollars are on the line, wow, you better treat that respectfully. It's not like just selling, you know, something worth a lot less, a car or whatever. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. And when there's a dispute, believe me, that dispute is huge. That goes along with the big price. So we have liability that we take care of with our insurance, right? We're insured. So heaven forbid, something happens, and maybe not even to our own fault, but it happened. And now they've got an insured agent that's going to probably take the hit, possibly. But you're insured to help do it. So your insurance help pays for part of it. You pay for part of it, and then the insurance takes. So you're insured. If a buyer and seller, and I've seen them. I saw one in Little Valley. I sold this home. He went to Cedar on his own, bought a house. It was a for sale by owner, 10 grand earnest money. The for sale by owner said, that changed my mind. I'm not going to sell my house. And they had planned everything from this sale to move to that one. And he knew his stuff. He asked me about it. I said, yeah, you could liquidated damages are equal to the earnest money. Earnest money, 10 grand. Went to the seller, you owe me 10 grand. That's liquidated damages. By pulling out. He threatened them. And, you know, I'm not sure how that worked out, but guess what? That's what the contract says. You defaulted as a seller, guess what? Liquidated damages are equal to the earnest money.
Or more.
Could be more, or you just go sue them. And so had that seller, you know, really had somebody to represent him and say, okay, this is what you're looking at, be careful that, you know, we're there to protect him, so that's huge. Follow up, when a seller can, you have followed regularly, there's some people follow up almost daily with a text or a call or every other day. I mean, it's pretty aggressive. So you have to decide how often you want to do it. And when you're talking to that for sale by owner, if they bring up an agent by name, then you know that agent is called many times. They remember that agent by name because probably the interaction and the number of calls they've got, they remember them. And you've got to be on that list too. So they know you by name. So the follow-up, you have to decide how often you're going to do that. You've got to have a program that feeds you those for sale by owners every day. that can come, you can get on with Zillow and sign up for their for sale by owner program, and they'll automatically send you what's for sale by owner. And that'll give you a list, or you can go into some of the paid services like Landvoice or Vortex. Those are really good services, and they'll give you expired listings too, and all of that for sale by owners. And they give that list to you every morning, and then you can decide where you go with it. But if you don't call the day that you get it, it could be too late, because everybody else has the same service. And so by the time they get to the fourth or fifth agent, they're done. They're done. They're not gonna take any more calls from realtors. They're done. They may have hung on to the first 2 or 3 that called, and then everybody else, now we're tired of this, you don't even hardly have a chance. You wanna be, in that top 2 or 3 that they're thinking of. And but the only way to do that is you've got to call the minute that for sale by owner shows up, and you're gonna jump on it. Because believe me, after about 24, 48 hours. They've had it, they're kind of tired of it.
Same thing as leads, that come from websites and so on different things, right, John? Yep. If you don't jump on it right away, there comes something.
That is true for everything, there's a potential lead. Because there's 2,000 of us, and many of us are getting the same leads. So what became a lead of yours, just know that it probably became a lead for many others. So the one that gets it, usually when it jumps on, takes care of them, has a personal approach, then you're probably the one that gets it. So you have a program that gives that to you, and then call that morning. The minute they show up, you gotta call. And then we also talked about the for sale by owner tells you they're going to try for a month or 2, well, 10 days. If you've got to call on a regular basis. And if you're having good conversations, then you probably could stay in the loop. You say, okay, how often do I keep calling this person? How often? Do I keep calling them? Am I annoying them? And you can tell by the conversation if it sounds like you've had a pretty good conversation and you've been, so yeah, it's okay if I check back with you in a couple of days, see how you're doing? Yeah. So there it is. That's I don't know if anybody has any more input to it. It's a unique niche. And they're kind of ready-made because they're wanting to sell. That's what we're always looking for, right? It's people who want to sell, people who want to buy. For sale by owners, it's ready-made. They want to sell. We know that. So if you decide to pursue it, those are things I've suggested that it will take to compete. And I wouldn't give up on the idea at all. There's many that are seasoned, not seasoned, new, old, whatever. But you have you. And you have something unique to offer. Something that the others don't. You have your personality, you have your approach, you have something that you said that sticks with them. You're selling yourself first. And they want to go with you because of your personality, because of how you approached it, because of your demeanor, whatever. So don't ever give up on the idea that you couldn't do it. And throw your name in the hat and be one to approach it and stay with it. And there's lots of times you're not going to get it. It makes it different now. And I know for sure. And but if you have interest in it, don't give up on the idea, give it a shot. Put your name in the hat. Do some of those things I've suggested. And you're good, you're bound to get a couple of them. Because we're all different in here. And we all have something different to present and to sell. So you sell yourself, really. That's a big one.
I'll bet you do what similar to what I used to when I used to knock on doors back in the day, is I would ask enough questions to where I found something in common. Because once you find something in common, you like the Minnesota Vikings, and then all of a sudden the barriers go down and you've got their attention.
That is totally.
Friends buy from friends. And so it just makes a difference if you can find something in common. The only way you're gonna find something in common is if you ask them a question,
So
right?
not only that, but getting into the door. So you can say, there's some agents say, hey, I've got whether they do or don't, I don't know for sure. I got a buyer, is it okay if I preview it for my buyer? Most of the time they would say that. If I don't have a buyer, I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna say, can I preview it? And I'll keep you in mind for any prospective buyers. We meet in the future. If we meet somebody that we think is a good match for you, we'll call you. But I'd like to physically see it. Would that be okay? 9 out of 10 times, they will say yes. And then now you have an opportunity to present yourself. And for them to get to know you, ask the questions, see if there's something in common, have your little presentation ready, say, I got something for you. Is it okay if I show it to you? I got some printout. They always say yes. You know, there might be times where they're in a hurry, or may not be interested at all. You say, hey, I did something for you. Is it okay if I show it to you? Yeah. You say, sure. And they'll say, let's have a seat right here. They just invite you to sit down at the table. Wow. There's your moment. And maybe you're only one. Actually, you gotta shine and give them your best shot and give something that is meaningful to them. And in that conversation, like Neil was saying, you might find something in common. Bam. Now you've got a connection. That connection's a big deal. Yeah. Any other questions?
Have you ever door knock on the first contact before the person about it, instead of calling or just call first?
I used to, now, yeah, I always call, save some time, call and see where they're at. They may already have somebody. They may already have somebody they know. Yeah, we already got family, we have family. That saves me some time to call and see where they're at. And then I can make an appointment to go straight there and see it. But you could go right to the door. But it's a little more efficient to call and see where they're at. But yeah, why not? If you're in the area, knock on the door, say, hey, I noticed your home up for sale. I'd love to keep you in mind where you at. My call is nothing more than just saying, hey, are you open to working with realtors? I say, not really. I said, are you open to working with buyer's agents? Yeah, we're open to do that. Okay. Then you go in and say, I don't have a buyer for you today, but I don't know what to anticipate in the coming days. Any prospective buyers will have, but if any of them match the criteria of your home, I will call you. If I think we've got a good match and I think it's a home I can sell. So that's, getting in the door is huge with that particularly. And, if you have some pretty good phone skills, but it's very competitive field for sure. But, you should try your hand at it. You never know. Anything else? We got some agents here that have been around for a while. Or not. This is where we learn. I tell you what's interesting, it doesn't matter the number of years I've been in business. I feel like I learned the most from some of the new agents coming in. They're coming in with new ideas. They're willing to try different things. They got a better grasp of technology and what they jump into. And I tell you what, they teach me more than I probably can teach them. Because they're up on all the current stuff. They're not afraid to dive in and jump and do it. There might be certain concepts I can share to say, this is things you can consider. And then add to whatever else you do.
Oh yeah, last week Kyle's tip on thanking him for checking on your website. And it's a really good, just little things sometimes that hit and resonate out of when you listen.
Yeah. Yeah, we can all learn from each other and we can share stuff. And you say, well, is there trade secrets? And I don't know, maybe there's some things you think are pretty close to you want to keep close to you. But much of the time, there's things we can share with each other. And what works for me may not work for you. And what works for you may not work for me. And so we all have to find our place in this big field of real estate, this wonderful world of real estate. It's an amazing part of the marketplace. It drives a lot of our marketplace is what real estate does. There's so much is geared around it, from financing to title work to buying furniture to buying improvements to buy. Our housing industry drives our economy quite a bit.
Thank you, Ted.
Okay.
No one on Zoom has any questions, but they say thank you.
Oh, very good. Yeah, thank you. It's nice to share. And each one of you should have your turn. Doing the same.
Yeah.